Well, hello and welcome to the Uncalled For. We have a great show for you tonight. Tonight, we're going to take a break from Iran and we're going to start talking about the midterm elections. I think this is something that we definitely need to go over and talk about what we think might have happened and what did happen and what the current counts are right now. There are some places that might not be done for weeks because I have a lot of ballots to go through, but I think this is going to be a fun show tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you know who's all here with us tonight. And we have Commander 401, we have Claire S. Bear, and we have Dick Dawson, who is helping me out with production tonight. So thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone for coming as well. I think this is going to be a good show tonight. I think we're going to have hopefully spark a lot of conversations. So hopefully we'll get some good things in the chat, some good topics to cover, and anything like that. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get right started. How is everyone today?
Really, really good.
Good.
Yep,
Good.
doing well. Doing better, doing much better. This
Excellent.
I'm not surprised. Are you surprised, Aimee? Actually,
Uh I would say a little bit because I always think the worst, and then that way I'm always pleasantly surprised when it doesn't turn out to be the worst. So thank you
hmm
for asking. Yeah, I think I'm in a good place. I think I'm at peace with whatever happens with this going on right now. But I think there are some things that I think a message has been sent a little bit,
hmm
not quite as strongly as I would have thought, but there was a message sent, and so yeah, I think going forward, I think we're going to see, especially once all of the ballots get counted, like all the mail-in ones and everything. I think we're going to see there might be a message in there. A
hmm
lot of young voters came out.
hmm
I noticed this time, which is good.
Yes. Yeah, those percentages were high too for the young and mid-aged. Was quite
Mhm.
impressive. It's actual historic numbers. Basically the whole thing was quite historical. There's only been a couple of other elections where the sitting president didn't lose so many seats as far as his party. They usually lose many more seats, and usually by midterms, people,
Yeah.
it's just generally in politics, they just get pissed off about this, that, the other thing, and they go the other way. Not this
Right.
time. Mm.
No, and I think a certain current events probably are sticking in people's minds right now
hmm
as
Yeah.
to as to why that may have happened, and I would have to say so, yes. And I know that I myself, when I voted, not only did I vote on the issues that are affecting us right now, I also voted on issues that affect me and my fellow
hmm
women, and that's highly important. Even though I don't need that anymore,
hmm
know I don't want to see those rights taken away. We've lived with these all our lives, and to see them come up as almost like as a referendum, this
hmm
election was really, really strange to me. There's a lot, and like I was saying earlier, we've lived with Roe v. Wade for all our lives, and now to have it
hmm
gone in
and
just a
it's
stroke of a pen, it was just incredible to me.
It was, and it was dangerous. If you look
Scary.
at the larger issue of it, I know they want to make it about a right to life issue. They want to, but that stroke of that pen was even worse. They made it a bigger issue. They're talking about taking away people's rights just ever handing over a belief. So other things came into
Yeah.
play too. A lot of other equality issues. They're actually trying to say there's no body autonomy when you think about it. So does that mean
I
that certain
know.
surgeries you want to have, people that want plastic surgeries, people that want other kinds of surgeries, that the government's going to start interfering and saying what is actually appropriate for you medically and personally somewhere down the line in your life? It's a bigger issue than that. I mean, you can get on that, like the right to life issue, you know,
Mhm.
and they're trying to sell it that way, but it is a personal belief that they're trying to legislate against 70% of the country. Where did they think that was going to go? Really?
Well, that was it. That was it.
They didn't care.
No, they don't.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to point out an event that happened in 2011 where I've always questioned whether or not they even care about the babies. Bob Casey, senator from Pennsylvania, was like, I'd have to characterize him as a pro-life, a traditional marriage kind of Bernie Sanders. He was politically liberal, socially conservative, and he went to their value voters summits. Every year they had him for more than a decade. And then one day they said, Bob, you're a communist, you're a socialist, you're godless. Be gone, because they wanted his Senate seat the next year. So I think it was also about austerity and getting rid of the government programs that were intended to help the least amongst us.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And going back to that bodily autonomy that we were talking about, that's also a scary issue, because we could be sliding backwards, as if that's the case. They might even go back to where we all have to ask permission to have certain things done, like tubal ligations and things like that, where you had to ask your spouse's permission or your parents' permission. If I need a medical treatment and I don't have the time to ask, if you have an emergency thing, what are you supposed to do? Are we going to go back to that point again? That's a concern. What do you think?
I can't even imagine, like, where do you draw the line? Like, that's what I mean by opening up this door and allowing them to do that on one tiny issue. It's so much bigger than that.
Slippery
And
slope.
and I really want to see people actually, looking at it a little bit larger, because it is. And they think like, oh, well, I do believe in right to life, so I'm going to do this. But it's more than that. They're going to come for something of yours, you want to, just they say you're a woman, you want a breast reduction or a breast enlargement. Okay. You want a tubal ligation. Where are they going to draw the line? Are they going to stop at contraception? Are they going to start on what you could do? Are they going to start putting penalty on ears piercing and stuff like that? What about tattooing? What about the tattoo versus no tattoo thing? Like, come on.
Oh, yeah. If you want to be a religious fundamentalist, no tattoo for you. So,
Yeah. And this is what I mean. Like, where are they going to draw the line? Like, it is bigger than that, and it's important to keep stressing that issue, that it's not going to stop there. You give them an inch, don't be surprised when that mile runs right over you. That's what's going to happen.
And then it's also their beliefs when it comes to marriage. Number one, love whoever you love. As far as I'm concerned, it's none of my business if it's between two consenting adults. And number two, you're dealing with Christian nationalists. I'm not bashing Christians, but there are some people who, let's say you want to marry someone who's not part of your religion, or you don't want religion in your life, or you don't want the religion of a shithead who thinks he has the right to legislate his religion into your household. That's where it's going.
Absolutely. That's where it's going.
There was what did Chris Durham? Okay, yeah, this is for Chris Durham Music Channel. Did Mitch get his majority in the Senate?
Nope.
Sad little evil turtle. Sad evil turtle. Be gone.
Exactly. No, he did not. So we don't know what's going to happen there, because he did say that he would be done somewhat if he didn't get his majority in the Senate, and it doesn't look like he's going to get it. So as a matter of fact, as it stands at this moment, I believe it's even, isn't it?
Which one did you say Senate? Yeah. Or is it? I have it up. Hold on one second. The current for the Senate, it's actually 48-48 with contested, but they look like it's definitely going to be 50-49. I think they said it's definitely going to have it. over on the Dem side from what they're saying. There's still a couple of races that they're waiting for the finals on.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
The
Okay.
House is confirmed at 212 and 203 with a lot of seats still in pretty tight
Pretty tight.
races. They do
Yeah.
predict that there will be more Republican seats, but not a majority. There will not be the 218 majority where they could push stuff through. So that,
Excellent.
yeah,
Okay.
you know,
Oops.
that's good. On the governors, the Dems have gained seats and the GOP has lost seats. And there are quite a few states that are currently as far as states that actually have governors and legislators all in the same party, the Dems are up a few as far as how many turn to like all Democratic, like to push through legislation. That's faster for getting things done. We all know.
Right.
But there's also like quite a few. I think it was like 15 different states that are now that were maybe all red, but now might be like red and blue. Quite a few people from different counties coming in for legislation on a Democratic ticket. So I thought that was interesting.
That
One of
is
them,
interesting.
yeah, one of them's Missouri, Louisiana, Utah, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Montana are all multiple. They're a mixture now. Mhm.
Yeah.
North Carolina too, West Virginia. Mm. So yeah, I thought that was interesting.
That is
Is it
interesting.
wrong? Every time I hear West Virginia, I think Mountain Mama.
No, you're quite lyrical. No, it's not wrong. It's not
It's
wrong.
not wrong.
It's not wrong. Mhm.
About 76 sucks.
Yeah. We retained our governor in Maine. We do have one contest right now that is contested. It's the second district in Maine for ours. It looks close. These two have run against each other before. And yeah, so that one still is still out there, but as far as the others, yeah, the other one she won handily. I mean, it was as did our governor too. I think I think it's great. People are getting longer memories. So it's
Mhm.
they reelected. And usually it goes the same like with the president and with governors too. Sometimes they'll if they're already an incumbent, they usually get reelected. So oh, phew, relief. That's- so we continue to retain the right to have a safe abortion here in the state of Maine, and we still continue to be a sanctuary state as well. And we will not report to other states if someone comes here to get an abortion. So
Mhm.
I'm
Mm.
sorry, but as a woman,
Mhm.
that's hugely important to me, and that has to be said to me. And I do have a super chat, so I'm going to
Mhm.
grab it really quick. Thank you so much. It's from that Indian dude for 10 Australian dollars. Says non-American here. Can you explain large sections of American right-wing cheerleading for Russia?
I would like to hear that explanation as well. Thank you, the Indian dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I wish we could explain it, but we really can't explain it any more than we can what they're trying to throw down everybody's throats right now with everything else. I can't explain that at all.
Exactly. I'm thinking it's along the lines of a lot of it is some of it is contrarianism.
Mhm.
Some of it is, Putin is seen as an
Baggery.
Mhm.
yeah, and he's seen as sort of an ally with
Mhm.
Trump, and Trump he seems aligned with Trump, and
Mhm.
that seems to
Well,
be what it is. But I can't see.
historically, we always were against them, right, Amy? It was always they were the enemy. But Trump had a whole different view of it. He looked at them as a strong dictatorship and showing how they put country first and they were always successful and might was right. And that was a platform he kind of pushed forward. And that's when it started turning more that I saw it visibly. After all, let us not forget who were the first people that Trump invited into the White House.
Mhm.
The Russian embassy, right there, taking photos on the very first day. Things changed.
Oh,
That was
exactly.
historic. I remember it. It's emblazoned in my brain because it was one of those big, you're like, what the moments?
Exactly.
There had been rumors he's been saying how much he supported and how much he admired how Putin ran his country. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I don't know. But that's the best thing I can say is that it comes from that whole party now, and it started with him and that platform and how he ran as strength in just putting country first and all of that. And a lot of people think it's because as Joey D, hi Joey, it's nice to see you, is saying that Putin has dirt on Trump. We saw that during the campaign, lots of rumors and things like that. I don't know, but there was an awful lot of pro-Russian talk through
Yes.
that campaign that startled me and worried me and still worries me.
Same here. Same here.
And then for those who don't know or follow Owen at Telltale Atheist, not an atheist here, but he does good work. He has some videos showing evangelical leaders carrying water for Vladimir Putin. Robin Bullocks said that the Democrats don't like Russia because all the Russians are Christians. And that's bullshit.
Yeah, you see how they twist it. That's when it becomes dangerous, right? Like it's like,
yes,
I think
they're trying to hijack people's hatred for their neighbors to get them to betray their own country and their own constitution because of their seething hatred.
I think I have plenty of reason not to be pro-Russia without bringing religion into it. Seriously.
Well, seriously, I mean, I liked studying the Cold War when I was studying history and everything, and so it's one of my things. And there's a reason historically why we didn't really care for Russia very much. We were having an arms race with them. We had a space race with them in the 50s and 60s, and they were historically, they were communists. We were, we had the Red Scare and everything during the 40s, 50s, and we had all of that. So historically, yes, they were our adversary during the Cold War. So some of those feelings still remain, and so so that's why, and a lot of people are still like that. It's so the turnaround is really strange. It's almost like people are ignoring history, and granted, you're not supposed to really hate anybody.
Exactly.
Obviously, I don't hate anybody in Russia. I don't hate the people that live there. They're wonderful people, and I've met a few through my love of Pallas's cats and and their conservation efforts. So I've met some people that way, and they're beautiful people. It's just the governments stink. And
the government gets them to think things which are completely untrue. In the Shills background, I forget who it was. The person had actually gone to Russia with an interpreter, or she might have been the interpreter, and she said this about the Russian people. They have their own thoughts, but they do not have their own minds because of all the conditioning that has been done to them by the state. And this is what Anna and Starsky were talking about in terms of when they were talking about Russians not having the ability necessarily to break, or the willingness to throw off the Kremlin. They are victims of almost 100 years of mind fucking, pardon my language. And my grandfather, who came to this country, well, he said that the Russians had been mind fucked for centuries by the czars too. So there's definitely a different way of thinking there. It's not hatred towards the people, it's hatred towards the actions. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Your actions make me not want you around if you're going to kill people, want to murder people, and think that you have a right to bring harm to your neighbors or other countries because somehow someone told you were superior.
Absolutely. We did have a good comment in the chat from Joey D. He said they never stopped being our enemy. Their nukes were always pointed at the U.S.
Yeah.
That's very true.
It's definitely really true. Oh, yeah. Yep.
I do think there's an important distinction which you made earlier, which is the difference between the people and the government.
Mhm.
And the people, I think I think it's true too. They've been mind fucked for literally centuries, going back through the czars, and
Mhm.
they can't trust anybody. They don't trust anybody. They don't believe anybody. This is a society built around a secret police. So your parents could be part of the police, and you wouldn't know it, and they'd be happy to turn you in. And this is for an ideology which really doesn't work, and nobody who runs the country thinks it works. It just keeps everybody under control. So their biggest threat to that control is any society that allows free speech and allows freedom of thought.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
they genuinely believe that a system like that is bound to fail. Now, if they were living in that system instead of owning the system, and if they weren't the oligarchs who were benefiting from it, so they have a biased opinion, but they think they are in an existential fight with the U.S., and they may well be, depending on how you choose to look at it, because that system, in our view, is eventually likely to fail. So I should say with the West, not with the U.S., but the U.S. represents the West. So yeah, that's always, there's always going to be problems. The people remember World War II, and the people remember the feeling of being rescued by Western countries, and of what it was like when Hitler finally was expelled. They remember the siege of Leningrad. They remember things
Mhm.
like that, and realize that many Western countries were their allies, and they remember it that way. So I think there is a very big difference. I find it staggering that the party that used to say better dead than red, that was the Republican motto for they would rather be dead than be communist. Those are the ones that would say better, what was it? Something new now, so about they'd rather be
They had
Russian than a
T-shirts
Democrat.
on. Yeah, they had T-shirts on. Bet rather be a Russian than a Democrat.
Right.
And that's that hatred that the Russians are manipulating religion with. Again, not against religion, against using religion to generate hatred, which causes you to betray your country.
Which is in total contradiction to their patriot, their actual "we're the true patriots" stance that they're taking on this platform. I mean, how do you actually support outside of your country against your own fellow Americans like that? It's quite hypocritical, I think.
Well, they've managed to increase the divide within the country than from, and I have zero doubt in my mind. One of the things that has been in the Russian mindset for a very long time is to record everything. They've got cameras everywhere. They've got secret listening devices everywhere. And again, they have a secret police. So if you go there, you're going to be recorded, and they're going to sift through it for compromising material. And they do that as a matter of course, especially with anybody who visits who might potentially either right now be an important person or maybe will be one in the future. There's no doubt they attempted to collect it on Trump. We know they did. We know they've attempted to collect it on absolutely everyone who's been there. So now the question is, did they succeed? Well, Trump is the only American in history, to the best of my knowledge, who ever had a meeting with a foreign power without the translators present. He kicked the translators out and relied on Putin to speak English, which is an extraordinarily bad idea for many other reasons as well. What on earth were they talking about, and why did he think it was so top secret that he couldn't even have his translator in the room? That means it wasn't a national secret. It was a personal secret he was worried about. And I have no, yeah. So Trump, is he getting orders from Russia? No, but I think he knows they've got something on him, and I think he does genuinely appreciate and admire authoritarian figures. So you add the two together, and he's fawning over them. And because Republicans do one thing very well, and that's fall in line, fall behind their candidate, and defend the position no matter how absurd, they've all upended themselves to say, yeah, Putin is now the good guy, and that's a truly frightening view.
A very frightening view. I mean, and they can turn just like that and say all of a sudden, "Oh, he's great." And I was amazed at how many people I would talk to in Discord who were pro-Russia during Ukraine as well, and still are. And he's a good guy. Well, they don't see what's going wrong here, and it's just incredible to me. It's almost as if it's to be contrarian against society right now, as it seems. It's one good thing that I've noticed though is where before it would have been harder to talk to people from other countries
Mhm.
and gain their trust and everything. But I think technology is a big thing, and it's a huge help, and it has been in the past, like with Arab Springs and with Iran before they locked that down. Technology has been pretty amazing as far as linking people together and getting people to know each other and realizing that, maybe it's not, maybe the West isn't so bad. Maybe there are people out there who just aren't as bad as what we've been brainwashed to believe. So I do have some hope. I do carry some hope that a lot of, like all the news from Iran will continue to come out. People will be able to come together and see, it's not as, Americans and the West aren't as bad as what they've been portrayed to
Mhm.
be, so there's always that hope there. So keep our fingers crossed. So,
Mhm. No, I totally get it. It's
mhm.
it's and we hope to do better, like right here in our own country with that. Like it's amazing how we
Exactly.
can find so much in common with people from outside our country, and then have this great big divide here where
It's
people just
huge.
aren't even talking.
You can't even
It's
anymore.
huge. What
It's very
I don't know.
huge.
Yeah, I'm curious, and uh, for all of you, actually, how you feel about what these midterm results actually are going to do for our conversations outside of our country, in particular for President Biden and for our secretaries of states and our ambassadors. Um, do you think perhaps it looks like we're being a little more reasonable and that there's some hope that
It,
conversation can happen? I mean, I
sh-
know
sh-
Biden's talking to China on Monday and he's hopeful. He says he's coming in stronger because it does look like the people are speaking, that we're not actually all crazy.
Mhm.
He didn't say it that
sh-
way, of course. That's paraphrasing. He didn't say that. That's not
shortly after Biden became president, he was talking, I think, with Macron, and Biden said, "America's back," and then Macron said, "But for how long?" Because really, we are still one election away from a dictatorship. You put Ron DeSantis in there, the because of this little compact that one party has made that will fall in line no matter what, with few exceptions, applauding Liz Cheney
Mhm.
and others. There's a Russian word I found out about it called Vranio. They have two words for lie. There's a normal word for lie, and then there's Vranio, which means everyone knows it's a lie, but everyone goes along with the bullshit anyway because
Mhm.
everybody benefits.
I I see the fear there, Commander, and I can agree that it's quite a situation. It could happen, but I have to disagree that it's only one election away. Someone, if Trump didn't do it as hard as he tried, look how hard he tried. Look how hard he's still trying. Okay, I don't think DeSantis could do it if he win. I don't think he could turn it into a dictatorship that easily. Um, I have faith, maybe rose-colored glasses in the American people, and just our stubbornness and orneriness of being told what to do. We left the whole country over religion. You think we're going to let religion run this one? I don't really think in the end that's what happens. I don't.
Mhm.
I'll split the difference. I don't think we're one election away. I think, or let me rephrase that. I think the phrase "we're one election away" is a little overly simplistic. We have institutions. We have institutions which were strained more than we anticipated, and bent more than I would have hoped or thought. But having said that, they held.
Mhm.
Now Trump was trying, but Trump is an idiot.
Mhm.
Trump's incompetent. Trump doesn't know what he's doing, and he was going on instinct. DeSantis is not an idiot,
Mhm.
unfortunately. And DeSantis is malicious. Trump isn't even malicious. He just wants he doesn't even want power so much as he just wants the name for himself. He talks about, hey, he wants to be the guy that everybody knows of and that everybody thinks highly of and all of that, and he'll hand the power over to other people. When they were looking for a vice president, his pitch to the vice president was, how would you like to be the most powerful vice president in history? Because he doesn't really want to run the thing. That's not what he's good at. But DeSantis is learning from the mistakes and is much more calculated. If he gets in, he's going to do a lot more damage. Having said that, we have institutions that so far have managed to hold, and I think are also preparing to improve their resiliency. So I don't think this is as simple for terrible authoritarian figures like DeSantis as a single election. Having said that, it's a much greater concern than just, hey, it held and everything's hunky-dory. It's not.
Exactly. And that is a scary thing. I will say that for us, for right now, I think the midterm elections will help embolden Biden. I think it'll be good for diplomacy. I think because where he does have his own party behind him, I think things will be a little bit easier for him when he has to go make negotiations or, have to exercise those those diplomatic ties, that we do have. I think he'll have more confidence going forward with that. I think that's a good thing. As far as everything going on right now, I'm not really sure. I'm hoping that eventually this, polarization in the country will slow down a bit and maybe get better. I know that we've had spots in history where it's happened before and we've seemed to have come out of it, and then it's getting worse again now. So history does repeat itself, unfortunately. But hopefully this time, we'll learn some lessons from it. We'll learn some valuable ones from it too. So hopefully, I'm hoping to see something codified in the future. So yes, and that's another good thing too, Joey. Joey said that Biden gets to pass his nominations. That's the biggest result of the midterm elections as well, which is also another good thing. So let's keep our fingers crossed for that as well. He'll get whoever he picks to be confirmed. So that'll be a good thing as well.
And for anyone out there, because I don't want to be too hyper partisan, I want to give you an example of where people once were. There was a man, Glenn Oder. He was a Republican. He used to win the district that I used to live in 60%. He refused to let Donald Trump do whatever he wanted in the city where I lived. Well, you're probably going to find out, Newport News. And he refused to give the green light in the state legislature for a casino, along with most of the Democrats and a few Republicans. He was not able to get the Republican nomination next time around, and that's pretty much a purple to leaning Democrat seat. But Republicans used to hold it irregularly 2/3, very racially diverse district as well. The character of one party has changed exponentially more than the other.
Exactly. Yeah, so that should be interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Anna says, it looks we're just waiting for Warnock to go through. Yeah. So what else do we think about what's been going on in with the midterm elections? What else do we think we might see going forward because of these results?
Well, for me, Amy, it was quite interesting to see the movement within the states, the governor movements, the movements in their legislator positions that were passed. I noticed that there are more solid Dem states right now that have both the governor and legislative parties that are all Democratic, which will be easier to pass laws. Which, for one of the main issues that I was concerned with as a woman, and as someone who watched Roe versus Wade over the last 50 years and the contesting of it if they're going to bring it to the state level, it's very important to have states that will actually listen to their people or that are
Yes.
voting. And so it was also interesting to notice how many split states they were. And then that meaning that the governor and the legislative parties are not exactly of the same party. So it's a mixture of Republican and Democrat. And there was a lot of what were, to me, leaning right and more religious states that are actually mixed now, which would lead to the actual voting down of the legislation that they put forward during this midterm election on abortion in Kansas, which got soundly voted down no, and it wasn't the only one. That they weren't going to do it. They weren't going to say that they're going to outlaw it completely. And there were quite a few blue states, so to speak, that actually did a body autonomy ratification, which actually said that, it exists and we're not going there. Like, we're not messing with this decision on that because it's not up to us. It's up to the doctor and the woman, period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You had that thing that you wanted to read to us. Would you like to do that, please?
I did, and it's quite emotional, but to me it kind of put into perspective. You know how I always say it's rather convenient that the Republican Party has picked this as the issue, right? Because it really doesn't cost them any money. Well, there was a pastor that did a quote. His name is Dave Barnhart, and it was quite a while ago. I used this quite a while ago in one of my streams in regards to Texas when they started making legislation against who could do what. And I found this quote from Dave Barnhart, who's a pastor, and it's called "The Unborn." And I don't want to upset anybody, but I would like to read it because it does kind of put into context the convenience of it. But I'm not really weighing in on a pro or con. Is that okay?
Sure, please.
Okay. So it's the unborn. They are a convenient group of people to advocate for. They never make demands of you. They are morally uncomplicated, unlike the incarcerated or the addicted or the chronically poor. They don't resent your condescension or complain that you are not politically correct. Unlike widows, they don't ask you to question patriarchy. Unlike orphans, they don't need money, education, or childcare. Unlike aliens, they don't bring all that racial, cultural, and religious baggage that you dislike. They allow you to feel good about yourself without any work at creating or maintaining relationships. And when they are born, you can forget about them because they cease to be unborn. You can love the unborn and advocate for them without substantially challenging your own wealth, power, or privilege, without reimagining social structures, apologizing, or making reparations to anyone. They are, in short, the perfect people to love if you want to claim you'll love Jesus, but actually dislike people who breathe. Prisoners, immigrants, the sick, the poor, widows, orphans, all groups that are specifically mentioned in the Bible. They all get thrown under the bus for the unborn. He was a Methodist pastor, David Barnhart. He put that out quite a while ago. But
Thank you.
that
Damn,
was really good.
isn't that
was good.
it kind of really says to it how convenient it is that the party went with this.
Exactly.
And just to bring up the history, most of the Christians used to be Democrats, albeit most of the Dixiecrats were horribly racist. They picked first it was abortion, because no one likes it, but sometimes it has to happen. It's not a pretty thing. And it was more respectable than the underlying racial issues. So they picked the people who used to support the Democrats off. And like I mentioned, that guy, Bob Casey. And at the end, when Bob was no longer any use for him, they threw him away. It was once called the wedge issue. I hope I didn't say too much.
No,
Oh, no, you're fine.
that was good. No, that was good. That was very good. So yeah, do we? I'm going to check too because I'm wondering if we have any updated polls, which I doubt
Mhm.
we do.
No,
Let
I
me
mean,
re-
let's see.
Okay.
Do you have the rooters up or the? I'm trying to find out which one is best. Like this one doesn't look like it's been updated.
No,
Uh,
let me see. I've got mine.
it says live updated at 6:55, but I think it's just taking my browser time. I don't see any change. Yeah, I don't think anybody's called anything. Well,
Exactly. Yeah.
mm,
Financial Times hasn't really updated much.
mhm,
They, I think one we're waiting for is, I think for Senate, I think we're waiting for just Georgia, which is Warnock versus Walker, and then that's an interesting race. Um,
mhm,
and I think that's it. And then for the House, it looks like we're just still waiting. It's 203 to 212 right now. So
mhm.
let's keep our fingers crossed and see what happens there. we did we did flip one seat for the Senate. That was interesting. So Pennsylvania we flipped.
Mhm.
And we also flipped the Democrats flipped one seat in Washington, but the Republicans did gain 6 and we did lose 7, I
Mhm.
think is how it went. The last report I checked. So yeah,
Yeah.
there were 435 seats up and then 100 for this whatever
Mm.
was available for the Senate. It was just a few.
There's
Um,
less than 30. This is surprising to me. There's less than 35,000 votes different there, between Warnock
mhm.
and Walker. Could you explain to me why that many people, 1.9 million people, voted for Herschel Walker on this platform? Like that is very surprising for me with everything that came out on him. Well, mm,
Mhm.
hmm.
Very, very interesting. I'm hoping that Warnock will win. I
Mm,
have to say that. It's just because of the sheer outrageousness that some of these people come out with. Another what race that we're watching very closely is the one with Lauren Boebert.
mhm,
Unfortunately, Marjorie Taylor Greene got in. I mean,
mm.
space lasers, Jewish space lasers, come
Space
on.
laser,
I'm
I know.
sorry, but that's just way too out there for me. I'm
Yeah,
not a conspiracist, so I struggle with things like that. So, mm.
mhm, yeah. Mm.
but
We've got 20 more races that are very, very close to call, and this one's one of them. But the other one with Kerry Lake too. I mean, everything that came out with Kerry Lake also. I guess it just goes to like there's that thing that people just like. It's like the American dream, like to get to the top, and it should be like with anyone. So if you put people that are crazy up there, then you're like fine. Like you're just doing better. I don't know. I can't explain it.
I
None of that makes sense. The quotes that come out of both of them on Lake, Bobert, and Green. I mean, every day they're saying something that can be easily debunked and look ridiculous. And I don't know why more people aren't paying attention.
exactly. So, yes, thank you, Joey. Warnock and Walker are going for the runoff on the 6th of December.
Mm. And that's based on that state's rules.
And thank you. Yes, exactly. And that's a good rule if they get that close. And then, hey, MJ said, thank you so much for this too. Bobert in Colorado won't get called until Thursday or Friday.
Oh wow.
So that's
Oh,
interesting right there.
yeah. There are some states that, interesting enough, they can't start even counting mail-in or early voting until after the polls close.
Yes, there are a lot of states like that I've
Mhm.
read about. I've learned about that
Yeah.
for
It
2020 because it was because of the pandemic and
mhm,
everything. We voted from home. It's always been our tradition that we vote together.
mhm.
I mean, since he was since he was a couple months old, he's always gone with me. And so this time we had to do it at home. So it was a little weird for him and me, but we did it. And that's when we learned, oh, well, our votes probably won't get counted until after the polls close, just like with everybody else's. So interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, Repo Sandman. I love living in an all mail-in voting state. It's so easy. That must be incredible. That's awesome.
That must have been scary when they were campaigning in the last presidential election to get rid of mail-in voting completely.
I know.
Like that didn't seem fair at all because our own military that's overseas, how are they supposed to vote? Like, you know, like,
Exactly. Exactly. You know, that's the crazy part is how are they supposed to vote? How are they covering that? It's yeah. And it would be strange for them to have to go to a polling place to do that.
How? Like how? We have to have bowling.
They would have to set it all up.
Yeah, we'd have to have voting areas in other countries all over the place, and like, yeah.
And how would you
But
set that up
expensive?
for them? Exactly. They would have to have something for the Joey D says, I hope that Carrie Lake loses. That and Bobert are the ones I want to lose. I agree. They're really strange.
They're very scary. There's actually talk about Carrie Lake being being on the party ticket with Trump because he's insisting on running.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because Sleet did say that expats like me have to vote by mail. I would see why. Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah. The USPS once mailed a bunch of things by rocket. True fact, not fake. True fact. Actual true fact. The USPS is amazing. Thank you, Repo Sandman. That was awesome.
I have faith in them. Like, I mean, I know it gets expensive and I know mistakes get made. And you hear crazy stories about mail people running off with bags of stuff and everything, but not as often as you would think, you know? Like,
right,
pretty much for what they do on a daily basis and what they have to handle, it's pretty good.
They're pretty impressive with that. It's it's amazing. So yeah, they handle a lot here too. Because they're always shorthanded here in Maine, and you know it's a rural area, so it's pretty spread out, and they have to go all over the place, and they work from sun up to sundown and beyond. So pretty impressive, and still get, you know, they're as accurate as possible. And as far as mail-in goes, when we mailed ours in 2020, I requested it. It was here within 2 days. I voted. I put it in the mailbox. It got there, and they give you a tracking thing to follow it. And 2 days, it got to it where it's supposed to be, where it would be able to be held so that it could be counted. And it didn't take long at all. It was incredible how quickly it got around. Because of course it was all in the same town, but still, the idea is pretty impressive. So,
yeah. I don't know. I'm reading some of the comments in the chat. I don't know whether to weigh it or not, but they're cracking.
I know.
They're definitely cracking me up. There's like so much you could talk about this, and I realize that it's post the election, and people are like, "Okay, well, the election already happened Tuesday," but here in America, it's still going on. It's not done yet. It won't be done until everything is counted and everything's in there, and it was historic. I mean, that's why it is important to talk about it. The predictions were wrong. I feel kind of happy about that, Aimee. I said that like a couple of weeks ago on one of my shows, and that everybody was predicting a red wave. They're all in my chat saying, "Oh, Claire, you're going to be so disappointed. You're going to be crying in your bear suit." And I'm like, no, I have faith that people are going to say enough is enough. Slowly but surely. And I think this was one of those small steps. I don't think it's a major statement. No, I think it is a statement, though. I think it is hopeful. And that doesn't mean I want everything to turn blue. I don't.
Right.
I want everything to be reasonable. Like,
well, that's it. From both sides. And, you know, I know that Arm Bear's comment was cute. I want reasonableness from both sides. I want to see, what we used to be like, where we'd come together and we'd be able to, okay, this is the issue at hand. Let's work this out.
Mhm.
We used to be able to do that. We used to be able to work across the aisle and be able to come together and work together. That's, growing up in Maine, that's how it always was. We've always had sort of an independent streak, being up over in the corner there. We always just, you were an independent, you were a Democrat, you were a Republican. You just worked to make the state better. You worked, and the people you sent to Washington, they worked to help make the country better. For everyone, not just a select few, not just the few that were, that might have voted for you or
Mhm.
donated to you. It was
That
for everyone, right from the little guy, the poorest of the poor, right all the way up to the richest of the rich.
Mhm.
It's not like that anymore.
that kind of went away with Newt. It started to go away with Newt. And if anyone wants something fun, go look at Tricky Dick's the election between Tricky Dick and JFK, and look at
Mhm.
Tricky Dick's platform. And then look at Tricky Dick's platform when he beat LBJ. Tricky Dick would have to be a Democrat today. I'm
Mhm.
serious.
Mhm.
Yes, that's
Well,
exactly
a,
it.
a lot of political commentaries are noting on that the Republican Party's platform has changed so much. There used to be the platform of law and order. They were totally all about supporting law and order in general, the FBI, the CIA, everything like that. And then all of a sudden, this is starting to change. There's all this doubt put in there. No checks
Mhm.
and balances. Let's dismantle the FBI, the CIA. They're all like fraudsters, and let's just get rid of the IRS. And like, who needs all this? They were always for keeping the budget within control and also not over legislating, but not stripping down all legislation. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, and it's just gotten really extreme.
It
Mm.
has. It definitely has. It's gotten very
Mhm.
extreme. It's
Mhm.
incredible, and it's left this vacuum in the middle. It's
Mhm. I mean,
and it's not good.
yeah, I found it quite confusing that the party that wants less legislation, wants government less involved in daily activities of Americans, and this is their platform or has been their platform for a long time, and they wanted
Mhm.
to regulate my uterus.
I know. Stay out of
Make
there, please.
make that make sense. Like, come on. Like
I
it just
know. I know.
doesn't. And I make a
And
joke out of it, but it's very serious. Like it just doesn't make sense.
It
The
is very
platform
serious.
itself is getting very confusing. I don't know what I don't know what they're trying to prove, except for anarchy. I don't know. I don't know.
get this, when Commander first wound up paying attention to politics, the Democrats were a little bit anti-FBI, anti-CIA. They had a certain element of conspiracy theory. There was one guy who was a senator who created some government agency that was more or less designed to prop up medical woo. And the Democrats, even though for large part it was untrue, had a reputation of being like a little soft on Russia. And now that Commander is in Commander's mid 30s, Commander's the one who held the security clearances to work on nuclear stuff and wants to see Russia gone and hates the medical woo and all. It's almost like we've switched places for some reason.
Mhm. It does. It's really strange how that all worked out, but it really does. Yep, exactly.
Joey D's comment is quite striking, isn't it, Amy?
It sure is.
Yeah.
When I grew yes, and this is what Joey D says. He says, "When I grew up, I might have known my neighbor on the corner was a Republican or a Democrat. But with social media, every last thought they have gets expressed for the world to see." And that is
Mhm.
so true.
Mhm.
And I think that's driving a lot of the polarization, because all those things that you used to keep to yourself are now right out into the open.
Wow.
It's like everyone. Well, yeah, it's like I have a cousin who's a
hmm
massive Trump supporter. Yeah, every last thought of his is out there, and anybody who and it happens on both sides. Somebody will
hmm
post something, and someone will immediately come and have their own thoughts on that. So after a while, you've got all of these inner thoughts that are supposed to stay inner, hopefully, but now they don't.
I think you
They're
believe
out
like I
there.
do. There's a way to actually get your opinion out there without slamming everybody. Like,
Right.
it's supposed to be opinion, not jackhammer. Like,
Well,
and
that's it.
and some people do opinion hoping to have conversation. At least I do.
Mhm.
And others do opinion just to shut it down. Like, and I guess it's like two different styles. Well, I prefer like with my neighbors and all, even if I know what's going on with them, like if I see it on social media, they're a little more harder about it, a little more extreme, a little more drastic and drama filled. And it really doesn't promote much conversation, not
Right.
real conversation unless you call like Twitter fights and stuff like
Right.
conversation. Well,
Exactly.
mhm,
Oh, I know. Well, and Repo Sandman does have a good point. It's 100% okay to be partisan in an election. That's the point of partisan
mhm,
elections. And I agree. It's just when it gets to the point of accusing
mhm.
someone of being a demon, that's when
True. Mhm,
or
mhm,
the really egregious political
mhm,
ads they put out there,
mhm.
accusing people of certain things, or saying that elections aren't legitimate. That's an issue.
Mm.
Or
That's a big
political
issue for me.
candidates threatening to kill their political opponents, put them up against the wall.
This
We've actually had that this year.
We are still actually having it. If you follow the tour that Michael Flynn's doing with the Christian
Mhm,
nationalist tour, I'll call it. He's
mhm.
promoting that platform, and they are calling to actually arm everyone, your women, your children, because they're coming for you. They don't believe in God. They're devils. They're elitists. I mean, really, the rhetoric is scary.
Mhm. Very
And I'm
scary.
not making this up. I actually heard it with my own ears. I
I know, I
actually
know.
tortured myself and listened to a Flynn speech. Guilty. Yes, I did. And I was horrified. This is the platform. And it's all about like, there's going to be, it's almost like they're speaking about the zombie apocalypse, but just put in regular Americans. You know what I mean? It really scared me because of
Yeah.
what it was like an incite to riot. It was like a call to arms. And I was horrified by it because I don't think
Me
things
too.
have to get that bad just because I religiously don't believe in you. What does that have to do with my political position in running a country?
Exactly.
A
Well, that's
And
it.
if
country.
you're
Go
and
ahead.
if you're a Christian, right? I might not believe in it, but I know what it is. And
Mhm.
your status as a Christian is not tied to the nation in which you live.
True.
It's tied to whether or not you believe in the gospel itself. And
It,
if you believe anything else justifies you as
mhm,
a Christian, then that's not the gospel itself. So I
mhm,
never understood this. And what about all those billions of people all over the world who claim to believe in your religion who are not Americans? Come on.
mhm,
The
Exactly.
revelation says from every tribe, nation, language, and culture will be gathered around the throne and around the Lamb.
mhm.
Really, it's an international thing.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
and for Americans, it's even deeper than that. I mean, all of these ones calling themselves nationalists, calling themselves, true patriots that believe in the Constitution and how we founded our country. Can you remember how we founded our country? Based on the fact we left England, we didn't want to be told what religion to practice. Okay. We came here and actually started rules that said, we're not going to put that in here. You all can practice any religion you want. We're not going to make it a political thing. Really? Can you remember? I mean, how hard is that? That is the foundation of our country. Like,
I
and
know.
yet,
And then,
and yet now we have to be told that you need to believe, and you need to believe this in particular or else. Like that is just
Right.
astounding to me.
and let me
And
give you an idea how successful that will be. The Puritans tried to have a Puritan society where only Puritans had any rights, and it lasted 1 or 2 generations, or else they would have had to kill their kids. And it pretty much died.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I have noticed that too. Like some of them, well, they're not Christian. What are they doing? And I also, from like not just from 2016, but from before, when a lot of new people were coming up, it was incredible to me to see how they treated like the Somali population coming up and going into into the house and everything like that, and how people were up in arms because they weren't quote unquote Christian. That's really bad. Oh, and one good thing that came out of this election, we elected our first Black state senator in Maine. And we also elected 2 Somali Americans to the House. And I am absolutely thrilled because they now really have representation. We've had a big Somali population in our state for a while now, and I'm glad to see that they have a representative up there. It's like, yes.
We also
Maine's made history a little bit. So this is good.
We made history also with the first Gen X or the Gen Z actually in there, 25 years old. 25 years old. Yep.
And that's in the federal, which is incredible. So
definitely.
That's good to see, because everyone, to see, as young as 25 being involved. I'm excited. That's really good. That is a good question. I didn't get to see the vote in Vermont yet. Have you seen that, Claire?
I'm just going, let me go now. You mean on the governor's level or which?
Yeah, Jim didn't say. He just said, about the vote.
Let's just see. Vermont looks like Phil Scott, like as far as governor, is definitely gone out there. Yeah, he's definitely got that. And let's just look at their regular legislation.
Okay. On women's health rights, did we find out about that?
Let's just see. I think they voted it down. I want to say that they voted it down, but I'm going to double check.
Okay, thank you. Excellent.
Vermont voted to protect abortion rights in the state constitution. They voted in the right to choose.
Excellent.
Okay, there you go. And you'll be happy to know it was a 77% yes to provide state constitutional right to reproductive autonomy. Vermont voted 77%.
That gave me goosebumps when you told me 77%. That's incredible. That is awesome. Good job, Vermont. Thank you. In Maine, it's protected here in Maine as well. So we're thrilled with that. So we're a sanctuary state as well. So that's good. So excellent. So those are all good things that have come. All good news. So
it is.
It is very good. Hello, DKG. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Let me just say this: everybody's jumping around like little Ewoks because they managed to, bring down the tyrannical empire. With this midterms, we're celebrating the fact that yes, we managed to save democracy for another 2 years. Is this just a reprieve?
Sadly, it could be.
It could be.
Or
down the road.
Or it could be the start of reasonableness.
Yes. Well, let's hope so, because well, the thing is that the MAGA side have still got quite a strong following, not as strong as they think they have, but you still have that side of voters who still falling down the conspiracy path. And also we've got on Tuesday, Trump is probably going to announce that he's running for president. Yeah, it just could be the start of another whole new shit show on the road.
Mm.
What do you think?
Mm.
Or do you think, like you say, the sign of reason is starting to creep back into the Republican Party now, and they're not all going to be crazy nut jobs?
Probably not. There's a clip of someone jumping up and down saying that they want Ron DeSantis to be the strong man to draw the sweet, salty, salty tears from anyone they disagree with. And Ron DeSantis is probably a bit more dangerous than Donald Trump because he's more polished and he's not a fucking idiot. Whereas Trump actually is a fucking idiot and his own worst enemy.
Yeah, but is DeSantis actually dangerous, or is he just going to be a good old party Republican?
He decided that one day he wanted all the math books in the state of Florida to go away. So he had a tweet where he alleged that there was some, and I'm not bashing trans or LGBT people, but he had something written which was obnoxious to the point where any LGBT trans advocate would say, yeah, that's obnoxious. He alleged that that was proof that there was critical race theory in the math books and made the entire state get rid of the math books that he alleged, and the trying to keep books out of schools. And anytime there's a book that he doesn't like, it's CRT. And he has all critical race theory. Let me give you an idea of what critical race theory really is. It's trying to get someone to understand how different groups view different institutions and how different groups view the world. So it's basically getting you to empathize with people who you're not part of their group and understand them. Most of the CRT that's taught is taught to lawyers so that they can better represent their clients. And some of the biggest shitheads who are against CRT being taught in high schools and middle schools, which is not being taught, actually have colleges that teach it. They just call it a different thing because they need to teach it to keep the law school accreditation. I'm talking about you, Pat Robertson. You told everyone that CRT was designed to make white people feel bad about themselves and said that all white people were racist from birth, when CRT does not say that. CRT will get you to acknowledge that, you know, like Henry Ford wouldn't hire Jews or blacks before the outbreak of World War II. And
this is in maths books?
No, it's not in math books. He's alleging it's in books so that he can create a boogeyman to scare parents. So how do I put it to you this way? He makes shit up to get books that he doesn't want taken out of schools.
Right, so, but he doesn't want kids to learn maths.
He wants fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Well, that's because what they're doing makes no sense. Let me give you another idea.
No, I don't think you better.
The Dallas, I think Fort Worth Public Libraries removed the Bible because they alleged CRT was in them. Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here real quick, please. We have a message from Crazy Cat 1 who says, "Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Crazy Cat. Appreciate it. Thank you."
Yeah.
Thanks, Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I see is a lot of people, you know, on both sides, bash at others and say, "Oh, this person's crazy because of this, that, and the other." You know, because we've got to be careful that you're not being influenced by people who will be against DeSantis, but you're not listening to DeSantis, but you'll listen to lots of people who will talk shit about him, and then what happens is you end up, you know, taking on what they say on board, and then you start to lose balance. It's very hard. I don't know. I might be wrong. I just don't know because
DKG, can I give you an idea what went on in Florida? For years, the Republicans had been toying with the idea of removing civil liability for people who hit protesters with their cars. Ron DeSantis removed civil liability if you hit a protester with your car. And in addition to that, consider this: people used to be able to shoot a black man and in front of everyone and get acquitted. So it might, if you get the wrong jury, it might be perfectly fine to plow your cars into people you don't know and face no civil or criminal liability for it.
Claire is up next.
I just want, about that. That would mean something like what happened with the Brooks trial. If there wasn't a criminal trial, the people that actually were injured and killed or whatever, they couldn't bring civil suits against them. And I understand that could be quite offensive when something happens to you wrong. DeSantis might be wrong on that, but I agree with DKG. When giving opinion, and this is really a point, I'm probably going to get a little bit of heat by this, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but when you're listening to other people's opinion, if you really want to find out whether they're biased or balanced, make sure you're listening for the other person's point in what they're saying. Make sure they know what the other person is saying, that they've actually listened, like DK say, to what DeSantis' actually platform is. If we haven't gone and listened, and we haven't actually listened to his speeches and watched, like Commander did, some of the legislation, then it's really, that actually adds to the formation and the actual expression of your own opinion, because you're actually talking about the whole subject and not just red or blue or your side of it. We got to be careful.
Thank you so much, Claire, for actually elegantly putting what I was babbling on about.
Well, no, but it resonated with me. So your babble was quite clear as far as I'm concerned, because I heard it. And I heard it loud, and it resonates with me. It
DKG
really
for Prime Minister next, then.
Well, maybe not. Go. You're green, and I'd prefer, you're green, man.
Racist.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in here real quick. We have a great comment from Fred Thornberry. He says, did you see the Michigan results? Governor, Secretary of State, and Attorney General, all women in Michigan. That's incredible. So that's a good thing, too.
And fair point. We all feel strongly one way or another personally, whether it be religion based or not, but not all of the things that are happening in the United States are based on the religion politics. They're just difference in political opinion. Some of DeSantis's platform is not really religious based. The civil legislation that Commander speaks of in particular, I really don't think that was religious based at all, or coming from that angle. I think it was monetarily and big business and the insurance industry itself that pushed for that. And that's what and like I said, that's no slight on anyone in particular. It's just how I approach it, and then I try to have bigger conversations about it. Really hear what the other side is saying, so you can actually have discussion about it. And I would just make that suggestion to everybody who's listening on YouTube. When you're listening to opinions, the commentators out there, even whether they be on television, in the news, articles and journals, like if you're not seeing the actual parts of the other person's platform and statements, then that is a totally biased opinion. That's how you can tell the difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's it.
Watch C-SPAN and watch them argue. I remember one year, this was in the 1990s, and basically Newt Gingrich was saying, I forget exactly what he did, but I do remember that the predictions that he made, it was getting rid of the ability to stop protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And he made a prediction somewhere in the 1990s that healthcare costs would double within a certain period of time, and we didn't do anything, and it still did. But you could watch them argue and find out whose morals are more appropriate for you.
Mhm. Exactly. We did have a good comment that I forgot to mention from Repo Sandman, and they did say that nobody teaches critical race theory in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good
Mhm.
comment.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Most of it's only taught in law schools
Mm,
or
true.
HR departments or things of that nature, or advertising. You know, if you go down that field.
Yep.
Oh, Aimee, you got so happy about Vermont pulling that, actually making legislation for the constitutional right to.
77%.
Yeah. Would you like to hear some more? Can I leave you happy
please.
for the night?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
maybe. Amy, just to give a broader picture that it's not just about red and blue. Like this was actually about issues, which is
This was right.
yeah, because like I
Legislating
believe we put up
healthcare.
a poll earlier that said, are you Democratic, are you Republican, or are you non-American? And I couldn't answer it because I actually unregistered as a Democrat, regardless of what all you all think about my politics being so left. I'm an independent
You don't
because I
have to be a
wanted to be.
Democrat to be
You
left.
don't have to be a Democrat to
No.
be left. You don't have to be
a
a
Republican to be right.
conservative to be right, or red, like a Republican. You don't have to be. So I registered as an independent. So I couldn't
Mhm.
answer it. I wanted to be about the issues. I admit I've got rose-colored glasses on. It's a two-party system, but I think that two-party system is failing, and I would like to see some change. So that's how I just express my opinion about it. I'm independent now. You know, I'm not gonna. Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion to America? If you're listening, now I think what we should do. We can't get the little fella anymore because unfortunately he's died. But we'll get a musical artist to re-record this song, and everybody in America holds hands, linked arms, and start crying, and they'll just re-record "Purple Rain."
Oh my God. DK.
Every red and blue come together.
Mm.
Purple rain. Yes, and everybody's crying and hugging each other, no matter what, you know.
I get it, DK.
Yeah.
Hey, we can only try. We can only try.
We can only try. We can only try.
We get Kanye West to do it.
Yeah, because, look, DK, I have only one answer to that. Okay? One answer to that. I'm going to remind you. The Tories. Now stop it, DK. It's not like you don't have a two-party system over there. It's all upside down yourself. Like, like come on, the Tories. Like 41 days. Hey.
Quite frankly, like, I'm willing to accept that they're both fucking idiots on both sides.
Exactly. You got the union. Like your red and blue is union and Tories. Like I get it. Like you know.
Oh yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, they're idiots on both sides. So yeah.
Usually when there's two sides, there's always idiots. That's what I'm trying to say. It should be more about the issues.
I think you can have a whole gang of idiots all the same color. Doesn't make any difference. We'll still be idiots.
Okay, maybe that should be the new party.
All together. It'll be a nice lavender color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it right there. And at least the lettuce outlasted Liz Truss, so that's good. And
yes. I wonder what we got now.
I, for one, welcome our new lettuce overlords.
Hey.
we make a song, Dick. We need to make a welcoming song for you. Something that could change often.
That was so funny. Yeah, that lettuce. That was really
I did notice, though, they did use an iceberg lettuce. They didn't use a romaine lettuce. So fucking racists there.
Oh, there you go. I prefer leaf. Yeah. Well, so back to the topic at hand there, Aimee. So on the ballot in Kentucky, of all places, they did a constitutional amendment number 2 that was going to say that in their state there was no right to abortion at all. Okay. Ooh. And the people slammed that down by 52.5% with 95% of the vote in. They said, no, you can't do that. And that was Kentucky, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. See, I know I'd make you happy. Yeah. I told you that Vermont Proposal 5 went down, constitutional right to reproductive autonomy. And that was, yes, we want that in our state, 77% with 95% of the vote in. That is the definite. Like they can't
That's
overturn
incredible.
that. Michigan put in proposal number 3 for the constitutional right to reproductive freedom. 57% voted yes. They want that in Michigan, which is quite a split state. In from what I'm looking at, red and blue all over how they voted. 95% of the votes in, and there is a 7% swing. I think this is definitely going to be a definite that they definitely voted that in. Montana tried to do a born alive infants regulation, and that would mean that any fetus of an age that could be born outside the uterus and live. So it changes based on weeks. You know what I mean, Aimee? Like, yeah. They were trying to say that they had, that they were a legal person. So
Ooh.
born alive infants regulation, but Montana went, no, we're not going there. We're not going there. 53% said no. There is a 5% swing in that state, and 95% of the votes in, and it looks like that's definitely going to be a no in Montana. Like, nope, not going there.
Wow.
Okay, and that's also quite a state. Got some people there that they thought were going to vote for it, but it didn't go. California.
The way you described that, the way you described that, Claire, was almost like a weather report. It was really funny.
I'm trying to take the heat off of it. Is it working? I'm trying to make it neutral, and not a hot issue.
Exactly.
But California also, Proposition 1, constitutional right to reproductive freedom. Only 70% of the votes have in, but it looks like it's going to win. It's 65-34 right now.
That's awesome.
So and that also has a lot of opposing counties that are going on it. But there you go, Aimee. I thought I'd leave you with a little more good news on that.
Thank you.
So that whole big thing about we were all upset that it was going down to the states, but if you think about this happened, some of you in the chat, if you're from Australia, this happened in Australia prior. They moved it down to their states, so to speak, and let each state vote on it. And now you have a right to it in some way in every state in Australia. It is legal. And they, and it was a very religious thing for them also. But they just put it down to the states from their high courts too, and government, and they let the states do it individually so that there was a louder voice for the people. Does that make sense? At the state level, we have to admit there is a louder voice for the local state people. You have more voice. They hear you more. It matters more. Okay. So I know I got a lot of heat when the whole thing happened because I was like, calm down, everybody, calm down. This could be an actual good thing. We might actually get legislation that protects our rights because the Constitution didn't.
And with it being codified, they can't.
Exactly.
And if they challenge it, it gets struck down as saying, it is a right. Oops.
It is, but it was heartbreaking to see it go backwards. Okay.
It was.
But when it wasn't codified the way it was, and it wasn't firmed up and stated the way it was and protected, then eventually it was going to happen anyway. Now it won't be an issue. Once it's settled, it won't be an issue anymore, will it? Not like they've been toying it around. So it is hard to go through it, but
it is. But yeah, it was hard to see, but I'm just glad that it's looking up. Like you said, they're codifying it into the state constitutions. People have spoken and said that they don't want these rights taken away. They want these rights. That should tell them something. And I think having what happened where the red wave turned out to be nothing but a little bit of, what was it? There was a quote that I heard from somebody, just some ketchup on Mar-a-Lago.
I think it turned out to be a squishy period or something. Not really anything. I'm sorry. I was trying to find something in a description of something gross. I'm
squishy.
sorry.
Yeah, just a squishy ketchup packet on the floor,
Yeah,
and
that's
just
it.
poured it on the
that was-
wall. It's all good. It's all
It's all good. That was our red wave. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
You know.
there we go. So I'm
Yeah.
happy with that, and I'm
Mm.
seeing things that are happening that
Mhm.
do restore my faith in our electoral process and in our citizens
So
and
it was not so much of
humanity.
a red. So not so much of a red wave, more of a blue rinse.
Well, let's just say it was like,
It wasn't as
maybe pink?
powerful as it was.
maybe it was a pink trickle. We'll go with that. How's that?
There
They
we
did
go.
make some
Yeah.
movement. They did get some points across, but it was not what they had hoped, so to speak.
You kicked it in the balls, and there was a little bit of blood in the piss, but not very much.
Gee, that's so graphic. Oh my. No, wait a
Hey.
minute. Would that be the United States balls we're talking about? Eh?
I don't know who's balls. I was just
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
find something funny.
Wait a minute. I thought it's my job to bring this discussion down to that sort of level.
Yeah, well, DK, we were just trying to make you comfortable.
Oh, okay.
He brought it down to your level just so that everyone could swim in it.
And it's only fair if they're going to legislate my uterus, like, can't we play with, I don't know.
Right.
Mm.
Exactly. Yeah. Just stay out of my.
What it is, yeah, stay out.
of
There's not room in there for
That's
Texas
private.
and all these states.
The
Yeah.
red wave
Right.
was aborted. Let's just say there was an abortion of the red wave and be done with it.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah, let's be done with it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's private. No one touches that. Just stay
Yeah,
out.
let's just stay out. Like, that's my business. Exactly. And that's
Well,
the
it
point.
is.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's between me and my doctor, and that's that.
Yeah.
So there we go. But that goes for anybody. I mean, that's what I would want for anyone.
Mm.
It's
Yeah. True. Jin made a good comment that I saw that tweet also, and I think there was a meme, Jin. It says the red wave crashed on the rocks of reality.
Yep.
This is true.
Very true.
And just sensibility, I want to say. Like, I just think that everybody I don't think they're actually voting red or blue. I think they just took a breath. They're just like, wait, I need a moment. Like, I got to take a step back. Like, things are getting too crazy. Like, stop. That's what I think this more means.
And for those who don't know, some of what we're dealing with, right? We have a history where there was a civil war. And you do have people who are telling teachers that they can't talk about slavery during a newly christened Confederate Heritage Month. That's the level of attack on our educational system that we are dealing with. And DKG, when Ron DeSantis, he passed a law telling HR departments that they couldn't make people uncomfortable about the way they talked about race. In other words, it was kind of more or less a kind of like, I could sue you if I was racist, and you as my employer told me not to make someone miserable because of something they had no control over. And again, teachers being told that they can't talk about race or slavery in the schools in the academically proper way.
Yeah. Oh, Space Wolf says in North Carolina, we had mandatory sterilization laws on the books for anyone who didn't meet intelligence standards as defined.
Yeah, that's what we used to deal with in this country, and we don't want to go back to it.
No, we don't, as defined by the eugenics boards up until the late 20th century. That's not good. That's bad. So I'm glad they got rid of that. Again, that's stepping on human rights as well. That's really bad. So what else do we think came from tonight?
Well, I'm hoping that nobody's in a position to screw with any funding going to Ukraine. That's a point of contention for myself in all of this.
That's definitely.
Yeah, I'm glad you
I
brought
can
that
see
up. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it does mean that we've got at least 2 years with what we've already funded that's going to stay. They can't reverse anything. They're not going to be putting new things on the floor without a big fight. It's going to get hard. So it already takes long enough to get everything over there. So our support that we have committed is at least going to go all the way through with no disruption and more because Biden has said he wants to do more. So hopefully it will.
And you might have a bunch of people on all sides who say, I don't want to touch that tiger with a 10-foot pole and basically just fund Ukraine or face the wrath of the voters.
There is a lot of support for Ukraine here in America. And I was quite pleased on Veterans Day to see the statement from Zelensky in praise of Americans and in support of those who served and being quite gracious, or, regardless of how long it took us to get things to them and how, being a larger country with more funds, it does appear that we could help more. I believe we could help more. But it was inspiring. Some of our own politicians didn't make any statements, including ex-presidents. It was shocking. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I don't know if you've brought this up or mentioned it, but was there any shenanigans during the midterms of, claims of, voter fraud and shit like that?
I have a story.
Yeah, but it's not going to be as useful as it was last time.
It wasn't, but I have a story about Carrie Lake. She was on Twitter claiming voter fraud immediately because in her state they actually had some trouble with the machines. They weren't printing a result, so they stopped everything and they wouldn't let anybody in to vote and they wouldn't let anybody leave. So they kept it all locked down. But it was quite amusing to see that she immediately took that whole platform and went out there, and it was on Twitter, these little videos of it, and it was live while I was doing an election results stream that they were doing it. Yeah.
Just to check on with you, Claire, is that the same person who claimed that she would accept the votes as long as she won?
Yes. Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So there's no surprise then.
Yeah. No surprise. And she's actually quoted. They quoted, and they actually asked her, "Did you just say blah blah blah?" And she said, "Yes." And she repeated it, and they quoted her twice. And I was like, "Damn, way to put your foot in your mouth." But yeah, the same thing. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it's only voted for if they lose. Yeah. Well, she's as long as she wins, she's gonna get that right because she wants to get to work right away. DK.
You know what she wanted to get to work doing? She wanted to kick the federal government out of the state. That would mean that all the military bases and all the money that came through it, if the federal government stopped sending Social Security checks, basically there was the Lincoln Project actually has a video about the analysis of what it would cost the state if she actually did that, and would be ridiculously suicidal for the state. But that doesn't matter. She'd do it anyway if she could, which she can't.
Yeah, there is a comment in the chat that I think I'm going to address layer by layer. There are so many levels of wrong with this statement. No one said anyone was legislating your uterus, ladies. We would rather have a population increase by procreation. One, and I'm going to address this, so let me go through this piece by piece. We would rather have a population increase by procreation. We have almost 8 billion people on this planet. I think we're good. Live and let live. Fine. Go do your thing. I grew up conservative, which no problem there. Conservative. I grew up in a very conservative household. No problems with it whatsoever. And I've always felt that if you want to act like a hoe, this is where we stop being a little bit less. We're going to stop being charitable there. Then deal with the consequences. The world has changed so much that no one wants to take responsibility for their own. That last couple of lines that I just read, the want to act like a hoe right on through, bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm very angry. Yes, and I'm going to address this. Abortions are not just because someone doesn't want to have a child because they were sleeping around. That is one of the most ignorant and most stupid things I've ever heard.
Yeah, weren't the men hoes?
Let me
too?
finish.
Yeah.
Sorry, Aimee.
But let
Yes,
me finish
please.
this first. I've been overspoken a couple times tonight, and I need to get this shit out. This is bullshit. I've seen people have to have abortions because their baby will not make it when they are born. If you think that if you only think that abortion is just because people are sleeping around, well, then I've got news for you. It's not what it's all about. And to just pin that all on the woman when you also slept with that woman, well, then, sorry. That's just so many levels of wrong right there that it doesn't I shouldn't have even addressed it because now I'm angry, but I had to, and I'm sorry, but I will address something like that, and I don't need to sit there and I don't need to tolerate people talking at me like that because that's ridiculous. Okay, now go ahead.
Damn, speak all you want, and do not apologize for your opinion. I'm sure that that person would actually leave rather than hear the answer to what we have to say. But let us remind you that we didn't vote for abortion. We voted for the right for you not to tell us what to do. Let's be clear. You do not have the right to tell me what to do with my body. All right. Consent to having anything to do with you does not mean I am your chattel to procreate at your will. That's the vote, sir. Okay. Not whether or not I believe in abortion. Because if given the choice, I might say I don't want one. But I believe every woman out here has a right to body autonomy to make that choice themselves. We are not chattel. Your second citizen point of view there needs to take a hike. So when you said later, I'm glad you're leaving before you got the hell kicked out of here with that bullshit. Sorry.
And exactly. And to call me a Karen, do you know how many times I've sat here tonight and wanted to just say what I really wanted to say? Well, and I didn't. Well, now because of this person, that's over with. If I have something to say, I'm going to frickin' say it.
No,
And
say it. Because this is the argument, right? We're emotional. We're caring. We don't know. Why? Because now you have to actually listen to us. Look at the population notion. We've got a voice now. And your argument is that we're hoes because we don't want to do what you say? Is that really an argument? That's not an argument. Apparently you didn't listen to anything because we're actually being reasonable. I'm not being like an over emotional little tart or whatever you would like to say next. Because
and the reason why I got angry is because at my age, I'm tired of listening to people's shit about stuff like this. It gets old after a while. Oh, yeah, Joey, I'll happily address that for you. Now we can just switch. Yes, I'm crazy. But anyway, late-term abortions are actually very rare, and they usually only happen because it's endangering the life of the child or the life of the mother. They're usually very rare, and they usually don't happen. Most abortions do happen before the 20th week.
Or less than 1%.
Yes, they are. They're less than 1%. So yeah, it's
and they'll be used as a fear tactic, like that's what we're promoting, and it's not. That just means you're ignorant,
and it is.
That just means you're ill-informed, and you're not actually looking at the whole issue. When they say that, like they're saying that, oh yeah, that's what you're promoting. No, we're not. No, we're not.
Baby born without a cranium. The baby's going to die. You're going to saddle mom and dad with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt to keep a baby alive for maybe a few days. 100% guarantee their baby is going to die. Things like that.
Can we also address the fact of procreative nation? You actually want us to have your children? Stop coming at us with that damn attitude.
Oh yeah.
You want us to procreate your parent? You want us to carry your children, and you're walking around spilling that shit out of your mouth? Are you crazy? that is the
Yeah,
least
check that at
sexy
the
stuff
door.
I've ever heard in my life. Like,
It was disgusting, and I'm sorry, and I am
You know,
going to address it again because it's
keep
just
that up
disgusting.
and turn us all into, on the other side. I will change my lane rather than sleep with somebody like that. Word.
And thing is, you're calling Aimee a Karen. The original gender of the word Karen is actually a dude's name. It's a Hebrew name. And a Karen is someone who sticks their nose into other people's business and tells people what to do while they have no right to do it. You are a Karen.
It is. And it's sad for me, Aimee, that a reasonable stream about actual issues, somebody has to do that and turn it into just like we're just being ridiculous.
Well, right, and to poke and prod that way is it's a little bit ridiculous. And no, it's just that you get tired of hearing people treat women like they're less than because they are women, and that's not how a conservative is raised. Usually, mostly, even a social conservative. I was raised Catholic. I'm a French Canadian Catholic. I was raised that way. My family was very, very conservative. I never ever thought that my fellow women were hoes, ever, in any time in my life, even when I was not left leaning. I mean, that's just, I never ever thought that, and I never ever blamed rape victims. I never ever, did anything like that at all. So to say that, to throw that onto conservatives is also, especially classic conservatives like what we were before the Trump crap. It's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
It's making me angry.
Well, of course, and we're talking about sex. It takes two to fucking tango.
It does.
Well, exactly.
You can't just. I mean, if men were getting pregnant, if the shoe was on the other foot, which is a bad analogy if you think about it, but if men were getting pregnant, they'd be demanding these rights. It's my perfect right because I'm a man and therefore I have that right. Oh no, no, it's because it's the dear sweet little old ladies. Oh no, hang on, not little old ladies. Little old ladies haven't got those lying on the backs, with the heels up in the air. No, that's not what's going on. No, you're just blaming it on fucking women again. It's just
it always is.
Shut up, you stupid cunts.
Exactly.
It's true.
And I'm to an age.
Although I wanted to say that, DK. Oh, yeah.
And I'm to an age now where if somebody comes up to me with that, I've lost patience. So I honestly wanted to use the F word so bad just now. I just wanted to tell this guy, just with your ignorance and your stupidity, just fuck right off. I just really wanted to say that.
Yeah.
What do they do, Aimee, when they're fucked off? How much further can they fuck off?
All the way.
Can they fuck off a little bit further? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and then they can fuck off some more, and then you can just keep fucking off, and just make it a perpetual cycle here. Okay.
And then be back when it started.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
Just as long as they don't go in a circle, they can go in a straight line. They can, linear trajectory will be.
Fuck off to the distance of 50%, and just stay there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
As long as it's not in my face.
I didn't want to bring maths into it. Oh well, shut up.
No, it's fine. But just not in my face. I'm done.
On that, Aimee, I'm so glad that you spoke out. I just want to say this. Although the topic is emotional, and I need to say this because I hear from a lot of gentlemen, my brothers, a lot of my friends. We don't mean the conversation to get that uncomfortable for you. But when you push down the conversation with that kind of stuff and allow it to happen, those type of microaggressive little comments that come forward and become, it just gets that way. We're not trying to get the reasonable people uncomfortable. And I know there's probably people on the panel right now that were uncomfortable that we went there. But Aimee shouldn't have to apologize for it because this situation was created by nobody talking about it. By not being allowed to talk about it, without being called Karens and emotional and all that other shit. So
And a
really, if
hoe.
you don't want to keep hearing about it like that, you don't want it to get like this, listen, support, and start saying the same shit we're saying and push those people back. Like,
Right.
I know you
And
all
I
feel it, but you don't
Right.
want to really weigh in because it's uncomfortable. And we're gonna and all I
Exactly.
can say is it's gonna keep being damn uncomfortable until you do.
Oh, I'm not finished yet. I'm just starting.
Mhm.
And if you and I think the thing that pissed me off the most is calling women hoes.
Yep.
Oh,
Because
fuck off with that
I want
too.
I want
Because
choice that makes me easy. Like what? No, no.
no, don't you have to sleep around actually to be a hoe?
Mhm.
Well, I guess I failed that too. All right.
Mhm. And
Did you have something you needed to say?
what really gets me is person coming into a chat and feeling that they have that right to speak about women they don't know that way.
Mm,
Yeah,
What
I just wondered if he actually meant what he says. He actually believed what he said. He was just coming and being an aggressive little cock.
Mm.
that could be it too. We could have just
Mm.
yeah.
And even then, he could have just like shut up. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no need for it. No need.
Mm.
No. And don't ever call me a hoe again. That's
Yeah. Mm.
I'll block your ass. That'll be it. You're done off this channel.
If karma's a thing, he won't be able to finish for a long time.
He'll be singing soprano if I had any choice. So,
Mm. Yeah. Anyway. Well, I'm glad that there's not a lot of people like that around me, to tell you the truth.
exactly. Thank you, Fred. We sorry about that, everyone. I just got very angry there for a moment. I saw red when I saw the word hoe. I'm sorry, but I'm not a garden implement. I don't need to be called one.
Mhm. Steve, I think I understand where you're coming from, but that's like saying if people are starving in the state next door, we should just ignore them. Can't do it, dude. Just can't.
Can't do it.
It's not that simple. The rights of people
do
are the
it.
rights of people. And I'm sorry, women, they just happen to be people.
Oh,
Good
oh my
newsflash.
God.
Shut up and get back in the kitchen.
Hell no. DK, you
Where's
cook
my
better than I
stomach?
do. Like, come on. Shit.
I haven't say that. Well, things might turn around, and you might be the ones to have to make a DKG. I want a sandwich.
I know.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, I do all the cooking in the house.
Dick, where's my coffee? Come on.
I want 2 cups
Yes, please.
because I might have to fight Mike Tyson someday.
I feel sorry for Mike Tyson now.
Hey, oh, I'm gonna kick his butt.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what's coming yet. But Fred Thornberry, thank you so much. More social progress for me. Thank you. 12 women governors from both parties for the first time ever in 2023. Thank you. And Ohms has a great comment too. I've mostly voted on Democrat, but I did independent several times, even Republican. But the things have gotten crazy. So vote these crazy Trump Republicans out. And that is a good point too, because I was, of course, in Maine, like I said before, about the independent streak. I voted all across. I voted for Democrats, Republicans, independents, you name it. We had an independent governor. I mean, I was always able to do that. Now I don't feel safe to do that. I don't feel like it would be good for this country or the state or for any of the issues that we need resolved to vote a certain way right now. So it's really sad because I want to get back to that place again where I voted for the individual because they would do what was best for everybody.
Yeah. It's like the government is supposed to care about the disabled, people who fall through the cracks, provide law enforcement, and do a whole host of other stuff. But you shouldn't actually have to worry about what mood the people who are in charge of the government are in.
Right. 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 And so I am a multiple issue voter. I am, as everybody very well knows, I have Matthew who's on the spectrum, and we've struggled with services since his diagnosis. We've never had regular services. I mean, so I do vote because of that. I vote because of what's been happening in current events and in the Supreme Court. Yes, I voted for that too. I also, I vote, for social things too. I vote for healthcare. I vote, we all need these things, and I don't know why we just can't have them. So to say that someone is just a single issue voter isn't always the case either. And that's not bad. I mean, some people do vote that way, and if that's how they do it, that's how they do it. But yeah. And it is, they're right. AK Croat 74 said, as you should be. Nothing is straight line. Two-party system is a crock. Thank you. And it is. It's poop. That's my assessment.
Agreed.
There are other countries where you're able to get a more healthy mix of ideas.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's how you do it. And that's how we've always done it. We always, is this person willing to work with everybody else? Are they willing to work across the aisle? That's how I've always voted. Are they going to be the one to get the job done? Like if something needs to be changed, can you talk to them? Can you, that's how I've always voted. And right now it's kind of scary because things are just up in the air. You can't decide who is going to do that, or if they're going to just be overly concerned all the time, like, and not do anything about it, and not listen to your constituents. I mean, that's not good.
Example, Glenn Oder, again, Republican, used to win a district by 2/3. Now it's a purple Democrat lean district because of the change in the parties, not the issues, the parties and their temperament.
Oh wow, that does beat a parliamentary system for Israel. 5 governments in 2 years. Holy cow!
Wow, that's amazing. Do you see Ivan Van Veen's comment in there? In Australia, independent candidates had their best ever results in the latest federal election, making a strong push against big two parties.
Excellent. That's great news. That's great news, Ivan.
Yeah. I hope that it's going to become worldwide more, especially here in America. I'm pushing for that myself.
Absolutely.
Because like Dick said, forget about red and blue. Let's just vote all the crazies out. Like, just if you're
All of them.
crazy, out. It doesn't matter
Exactly.
doesn't matter what side you're on.
Nope. If you're Streamlabs is being rude to Facty. Yeah, it's you have to you have to vote all the not reasonable people out. I'm sorry, but these conspiracy theories that some of these people espouse, and then they get elected in, and some of them who have the most egregious behavior and most hypocritical behavior are getting voted in, and that's scary. They're not going to do what's right for everybody. They can't.
I remember they put Michelle Bachmann on the Intelligence Committee, and she who was talking about bloodletting as a remedy to fight Obamacare was going to have to deal with intelligence from the real world. Can you imagine? They're putting people on committees. They put them on committees where they had to deal with the real world and they weren't living in it.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Helpful.
Yeah, really. Yes, and that's very true, Space Wolf. If there's one thing the two parties in the U.S. agree on the most, it's keeping any other parties out of the process by any means they can. And that means just stalling everything.
Yep.
Yeah. There was the Green Party. There was quite a few other parties that just they won't let them.
You need so many signatures. You need so many signatures to get on the ballot. And then a lot of the time, one party will actually come in and then they're aligned with one side more than the other. And they'll actually wind up spoiling the election for the side that they're most aligned with. You need one of the two parties to collapse to the point where you can have you can have a safe area where something good will happen of the remains of the other, or people from one side that's still kind of intact will feel that they can break off and actually get some healthy ideas. And someone mentioned Israel. Israel has so many political parties. Now, Netanyahu was like if the worst of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party had a baby, but you can get better, more healthy mixes where the best of both might be able to get together.
Yep. It is getting scary. You're right, Steve. That's one thing that Steve has said that really hits home.
That's why I wish more people. I'm sorry. Yeah, there was a delay.
Oh, that's okay.
I do wish more people knew that you could still vote if you're an independent. You could register as an independent. You get everybody's platform. You could still vote, but you just can't vote in the primaries that are for that side, like who's going to run as a Democrat or who's going to run as a Republican. But as an independent, I don't think you really care that much, So if more people actually, if you're that unhappy, tell your party you're that unhappy. Step back.
Leave it.
See what they do.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think that means is not quitting. It just means taking a breath. It just means, hey, I'm having a problem here. I need to see what you guys are doing, and we'll step back a little bit. That's what I did. I think that process needs to be promoted more. But of course, the Democrats and the Republicans are not going to promote how to do that. But all you lose is the right to vote in the specific party's primaries. So.
It seems to me that the independents need to get together and create an alliance, like the Independent Alliance, so there'll be a third party.
Yeah, let's just start the cult of the bear and create an independent. No, I just.
Bear and Palace's cats. There we go. I like
there and the cats. I bet you those cats are independents. I know they are.
Oh, they are.
I know they are.
And as a public service announcement, when you register to vote, that does not affect whether or not you'll get jury duty. You become eligible for jury duty, obviously, when you come of age, and they do it off your driver's license, not your voter registration.
It doesn't matter what party, just that you're eligible to vote, you're going to go in for jury duty, right? Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Eligible to vote, but it doesn't matter if you're registered or not. So go get registered and vote, because if you're eligible to vote, you're going to go for jury duty, but you could be unregistered and still get it. So just vote.
You just have to be eligible, right?
Right.
18 years old, that's it.
Exactly. Well, phew, we had quite an evening.
We did. I didn't think we had enough to talk about, and look what happened. Oh boy.
I know.
Oh boy.
Sorry, everybody. All right. So I'm thinking that maybe we should go around the room and see what everybody's thoughts are on everything. Does that sound good? All right. I'm going to start with Commander 401. Commander, what are your thoughts on this evening?
Great conversation this evening. I have to apologize for one thing that I didn't explain. When I said it was party, not issues, I meant that Glenn Oder could probably still win that district if he changed on one or two issues now. It was the temperament of the parties and the craziness. I wasn't saying that make party an issue. I was saying that it was the temperament. Well, we had a great night, and goodbye.
Okay, thank you so much. And next up, we have DKG Custom. DKG, what are your thoughts on this evening?
Well, I look back. Well, I can't tell you much about this evening because I wasn't here for a little bit, but I look back a few years ago, and somebody who used to be one of my friends, he voted for Trump in the first election, and he voted for Trump because he said that he's going to overturn United States politics. Oh boy, was he right. And now we're picking up the pieces. It's almost like what we want is back to the status quo, please.
I know.
Yeah, we'll build from that. But yeah, until then,
Exactly.
good night, everybody. Thank you very much for
Okay.
letting me in and causing uproar. But you know what you expect.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. And next up, we have Claire S. Bear. Claire, what are your thoughts on this evening?
I'm not going to speak on them anymore. I think we've seen enough. I think everybody actually knows. And I just want to thank everyone for their patience and for listening and for allowing us to have the conversation. And I hope you continue to. And thank you, Aimee, for the platform to do it. I think it's important, these conversations, all of them that
Very
we've been having.
Very important. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, and next up, we have Dick Dawson. Dick, what are your thoughts on this evening?
I personally believe that when it comes to elections and the different parties being in the media and publicly and whatnot, they should not be allowed by law to talk about the other parties. They should only be allowed to talk about what their platform is, what they intend to do. So instead of all the bullshit and rhetoric, we could actually get something that means something to make decisions on.
Absolutely. That should be everywhere. I agree. So
yeah, I mean, we got the media for the mudslinging. They shouldn't be allowed to. But anyway, that's my thoughts.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think, yeah, and I'm glad that we covered these. It's always good to cover these things, and so I'm happy that we did. I'm happy to be able to say what I think about what happened and my perspective as to why this red wave didn't happen quite as it was predicted. I think that's actually so I was glad to be able to look into that as well. Hopefully we have informed you and entertained you. Thank you very much. I think we all learned tonight that you don't ever call Aimee a hoe, because that's one way to get her angry. So oops, sorry.
Hang on, let me write that one down.
Yes, don't call her a hoe. That'll make her mad. Other than that, yeah, no, I thought it was a great evening. And so thank you. And I thank everyone for all of their support. Thank you so much for listening to what we had to say. And thank you for listening to all of that. I think it was good to see see all kinds of perspectives as far as all of this is going. So thank you everyone on the panel for coming tonight. Everyone had great insight, and I want to thank everyone in the chat for coming as well. Thank you so much. Always a great support, always do a great job. So thank you. And I hope you come back and watch us next week too. So thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
dear. It's over. Go home.